Hello, everybody. I think we are back. Yes, feeling much better. Yes. I'm probably about 95, 97% good enough to go out and kick butt and take names and all that good stuff. For those of you who don't know, welcome to The Varied Life. I'm Steve, the hobby tech guy, American expat, retired here in Korea. And today we're going to be taking a look at, as you can see there, Necron Combat Patrol team is all put together. We got a little piece of terrain and our Large Necron Overlord. So we're going to be taking a look at that. Like I said, got a couple of vaccines. I had for pneumonia and shingles. Got both of those the other day on Friday, and that just knocked us out. We were out for the entire weekend and part of yesterday. Today's Tuesday, 17 March here in Korea, and yeah, it was horrible. I still have another shingles shot to take, but that's going to be in like 5 months or so. I have to take another one, so hopefully it won't be as bad as this. At least that's what the doctors say. So we're going to look into this. I'm going to take a swig. You can hit the like button for the video. I got to stay hydrated. And with that, if you subscribe to the channel, be sure to ring the bell so that you can stay abreast of all the stuff that we're going to be doing. So with that right now, I think what we're going to end up doing is we're going to head over to the desk over there. And with that, we'll kind of just do some stuff and have some fun. Nothing real crazy. Might do a little bit of painting. But with that, let's go ahead and head on over. And I added a picture there. Excuse me. I had a picture there of me. So that way we can get a little bit of something going on. And let me get the tablet going. And we've got that. So we finished assembling our Necron team. So Combat Patrol, we got them going. Had to do major surgery on one, but this is it. So we got everything from the big Doomstalker, which, by the way, what we ended up doing with him was quite the interesting little thing. Because if we take a look at this guy, what we ended up is 3D printing this little extension here. So that way, his turret can go 360 degrees. Before, this was down like that, and it could only rotate a little bit in between the legs because of these cables are hanging down. So in the last video, we made a little collar on there, little spacer. And so now, our Doomstalker can go around 360 degrees and put some pain on some people. So, yeah. This turned out really good. We've got a lot to do on these guys. Can't get it in the hole. Oh, there we go. So yeah, we've got the Doomstalker. We've got our destroyers. I guess that's what those three guys are. We've got our Overlord, which turns out pretty nice. And then, of course, we got some scarabs on here. And then we have, excuse me, our infantry that we have. And yeah, we're going to have a lot of fun with that. The other thing we ended up doing is making, actually, I found this file, I think it was on Thingiverse, for Necron terrain. And I made some adjustments because the model was really, the STL was really messed up. But I ended up doing a little dry brushing. We ended up kind of coloring in some of the orbs, so I could practice getting that. And I had an idea. So, matter of fact, let's move. And I got to do all these bases. Yeah, I want to do something special on these bases so it's just not Barney Basic Black. So that will be coming up in a future video. Of course, we're going to prime all those black. The thing I was thinking on this was take my UV resin from Green Stuff World, and we could get our light pen, our UV light pen, and we could coat this on these orbs and see how shiny it comes out. Hey, we got Swedish Forge in. Hey, brother. So I just thought of this and I was like, hey, that would look pretty cool. So what we're going to end up doing, I guess I can use a brush. We'll just go ahead and put this on here and we'll see what type of results we get on this. And we'll just kind of go through. Oh, we got a little bit of a and we'll just kind of go around. We'll put this UV resin on here and we should be good to go. We'll see how well this comes out. And we got a little bit of a bleed over. There we go. Seriously. Now we will do our UV light. And this should give us a nice shiny green glow. Shiny, and I think that'll add an extra little element to not only this model, but I think when we do our Necron Combat Patrol, we'll also do that as well. So that way it'll add a little bit of spice to our Combat Patrol, or our Combat Patrol. So get a little bit of shiny action here going. I should probably get my other UV light. Is way better, bigger and better. But I think this will be good for proof of concept and to see if this works. I've done this before with paints and stuff like that. So I'll paint something like red or ruby red, like a jewel, and then put some UV resin over it and cure it. And then what ends up happening is it looks like it's shiny, like a ruby or, you know, precious stone or whatever. And it just gives that little extra pop. So as we can see, we can get a little bit of, see how shiny that is. So I'll just kind of keep the light on there. We got Swedish Forge to say, what's up? So cool, thanks for sharing this. Yeah, the UV resin is pretty cool. If you want a shiny surface on it, it's also good to help get rid of layer lines. So there's that. And yeah, this turns out really, really nice. So I'll have to do a full cure on this. But besides doing some, some dark to light as far as the green and the tesseract, from darker green to lighter green to tesseract to get that glow. This is also a great way to get that going. And if you can see that there, let's see, can we turn the light a little bit? And it turns out nice. So that's a great little tip. Let's do a little bit on this big one here. And that's kind of cool because it's got a, it's got kind of like a bowl shape. And we can just put this in there and this will fill in. And maybe we'll put a little bit more. wow, that is going to be... So Green Stuff World UV resin works really well. And then we'll just go ahead and we'll blast that. And if we take the lights down, look at that. And see how that goes in there. So, go ahead and shine that on there. That looks kind of interesting. So yeah, UV resin can really do a lot for you, and pretty amazing stuff to get that high gloss on there. And I'm definitely going to do this on the Necrons. I haven't seen anybody else do it, and we'll do a test run on our giant Necron Overlord, which is as big as our Doomstalker. This was 3D printed on our Creality K2 Plus, and we're going to be doing the green on him eventually. So practice doing our orbs and our green and stuff like that. We'll probably do his ribs as well. In between the ribs, we'll have that. I need to put some white in there, so maybe we'll do that on this stream. But yeah, UV resin is the bomb. And we can actually throw this into my curing station where I do resin printing, and that'll cure this up really nice, and you should get pretty nice. And so you can see that there. And we got how that's all shiny. If we can just focus. And then we could build that up by doing another layer. And we could almost get it kind of curved if we just add a little bit more. To where that spreads out. And we can blast it with our light. Boom! And that does a lot. And you could build it up, do the layers so you can get it kind of a little bit rounded. Which, as that cures, and that'll be a real nice detail on that. I actually probably need to order another one of those. Because again, one is none, two is one type of scenario. So yeah, that will turn out nice. I got a little bit of an arch on that. You can see that. So yeah, good stuff, good stuff. I like that. Matter of fact, you know what I can do? I'll just put a little drop there. And kind of spread that out a little bit. And we'll just dust a little bit on there. And won't go too crazy. And let's see if we can just get a little bit on the I'm not going too crazy on this. I'm just trying to use whatever I got left on the brush to so we can do that. And then what we'll end up doing is we'll just go, I'm going to go throw this into my UV resin cure station. So bear with me as I'm away. I'll just throw this in there real quick. And start this up. Do it for 5 minutes. And that should cure that all up real good. So, with that, now what we can end up doing is we can get back to getting a little bit of work done. We'll see what we want to do next. Take a little swig. Still trying to hydrate. And I think the next thing we're going to end up doing is we can do the white in between this guy's ribs. So we can get that going on. Get out a little, let's use this side. Go for the orange. And we will pull out our white, our matte white, or nope, you know what I'm going to do? We're going to use the airbrush matte white. And what I like about the airbrush matte white, or not just the matte white, but the airbrush colors, is all of these paints are already thinned, so you're good to go. So it's not like the regular army painter where you need to, you know, thin them out, get them the right consistency. These are already made so that they're at the consistency to go through an airbrush. So that means they're real liquidy. They'll flow into areas, kind of get almost a capillary action, and that is really nice. And let me clean up this brush that we did that UV resin, because I don't want, got to clean this brush. Getting water everywhere. And that UV resin is what I used on my World of Warcraft work for some of the jewels on him, and that turned out fantastic. And in fact, we got him up here on the shelf. If we take a look at this, you can see on the purple areas, that's where we did that UV resin. And so we can see, let's see if we can bring this down a little bit, kind of make some adjustments. But you can see, and this was done with about 93% speed paint. But we put a little bit of UV resin on those purple areas, and that's how we were able to get like the look on that. So yeah, that turned out really good. Happy with the orc. Did a little bit of dirty down rust and moss on the base there, but the majority of this was with speed paints, with the exception of, I think, the teeth and the green eyes, and of course the UV resin and the dirty down stuff, but the rest of this came out pretty good. So yeah, it came out good. So we're going to end up doing let's see if we can get some excuse me, get some paint action and get inside the rib cage. Oh, it should be noted that this camera that you're watching this on, the YOLO Live S3 camera that I bought, which has great autofocus. I just ordered another one so we can do a top-down view and painting and stuff like that, and that'll be awesome. So hopefully we'll be able to do all that. But that'll be in towards the end of the month. But we won't be here because we will be in the Philippines doing a little bit of vacation action. Seriously. Okay, so now what we can end up doing, I just heard the beep, and we need a thin brush, so I'm going to try using this one. And we're going to get in between these ribs here. So let's just put a little, I think that should be enough, hopefully. And we're just going to load up our brush. And that is a big brush. I'm going to go for a smaller one. This one. Maybe that one. They're going to be small enough. That is going to be close. You know what? I don't like that either. I want a real small brush. So let's try this tiny brush here. I think that'll work. Just kind of get this in there. Yep. That'll work. That'll work. Have a little bit of overflow, but I think even if we get it a little bit on the ribs, that'll be okay because we're going to be doing a little bit of a white ink over this, and then some green, so that way we can kind of get that glow going. This should turn out good. So really need to get some Q-tips. Note to self, buy Q-tips. You know, the other thing I could have tried was some of that panel liner. And so there we've got our ribs are done. The ribs are done! And I used too much paint. But that's okay. And I don't think there's any other. Oh, we need some eyeballs. We forgot to do his eyeballs. Glad we caught that. And because his eyes need to be white, that's going to be just kind of do this, the whole little socket, and then the plan is to do again a little bit of airbrushing and with some white ink and then some green to try to get the look of the glow on here. So I think we've got that okay. So yeah, I think we're good on that. That will look nice. Get that, clean that off, and like I said, the airbrush paints already are thinned pretty nice. Even really nice in hindsight, I wouldn't have gotten the regular Army painter paints because they're so thick, and you need to, which is good because that means you can thin these out and you get a lot more paint out of it. If you add water, thin them out, stuff like that. But with these are already thinned out. You're not going to get as much paint, I think, even though it's, the same 17 milliliters, 18 milliliters. These are what? These are 18 milliliters, but these are already thinned out. This is not thinned out, which is interesting. I mean, which is heavier? That might be something to take a look at. So, let me just put some hair gel on this brush to get that back into a sharp shape. And then what we can end up doing is going through and we can do some painting. We can do some green. How about that? What I've found is by doing some green, we can go from a darker green like a savage green for kind of like the edges, and then you could even do a lighter colored green, maybe not a feral green, maybe Space Marine guy like, hey, stop that. So maybe green skin, I don't know, that's pretty darn close. Or something like, no, that wouldn't be a good green. Yeah, maybe green skin, savage green, then green skin, and then go in with the Tesseract from, they're no longer called Citadel, they're now called Warhammer paints, but, and that's where we get that really shine on there, or the yellow glow. I know it probably makes a lot of noise. We got Zombie Hunter here. Hey! George says it'd be interesting if you could purchase on a buy weight process. Yeah, that would be. The interesting thing is that if you look up Army painter paints on Amazon, sometimes it'll give you the price per ounce, and it's like $6, $7 an ounce for Army painter paints, versus stuff like Arteco paints, which is like 70 cents an ounce. And these are actually pretty good paints. Pigments nice and thin. Okay, I think we're good to go. So, what we want to end up doing, we got our little reference page. And course, this isn't the exact same model, but it's just a reference picture. And we can see how on some of these orbs, on how around the edges it's darker and towards the center it's lighter. And that's how it kind of gets that round circular feel. So that's what we're going to end up doing. Is we'll go on some of these, and what brush do I want to use? I think I'll just go with this one. And we can go through, we can just put a drop of this. I got to get used to not wasting my paint. And I think what we'll end up doing is we can do like the ones on a shoulder pad, and we'll just go around the edges and just do a line of dark around the edges of these. And we'll see how this turns out. Try to get a nice even line around the whole thing, which and get it darker. And see how that works out. We'll see how that goes. Let's see if we can draw some of that out a little bit. There we go. And then try to blend in some of this color as well with the other green that we'll have. And hopefully that'll turn out. Just a little bit of a larger border on this, a little bit. We'll see how that turns out. So hopefully this will work out well. And I'm still trying to learn how to paint straight lines. Go figure. Try to practice and get this going. So hopefully, now the thing is with this, these are large. This is a large print. And the other issue that I have is when you do something as big as this and then you try to do it on something as small as this, holy crow, that is going to be crazy. So, yeah, that'll be interesting. I guess we can do the scarab as well. Breathe. It's funny because it's like draw a circle, draw a straight line, paint a straight line. Things that you'd think, oh, that's not a big deal. And yet you're struggling with it. It's like, what? When did I forget to draw? Or, be able to paint a straight line. But there actually is skill involved. So we get this dark in here and we'll see if this is going to work. The scarab got in the way. I think this would be nice for that top-down view camera. It would come in really nice right now. So that's why I'm gonna, dang it. The scarab got in the way. Dang it, you bug. And the other thing that I end up doing on that terrain piece that we did, and practicing the green orbs on there, is we did a little bit of stippling on these areas to kind of do like a gradient. So there is sorry for the washout on the light on there, but and then for some of these areas, how are we going to do this? I think we can do just kind of like on the edge. And just on the edge. Edging is good. Edging is good. So we'll just try to get on the walls here on the side. Always seems like there's that one little hair, one little brush hair that's just out of place. Seriously. See if we can darken that in just a hair. And so that way we got that. A little bit of darkness around the outside. Around the outside. And we can do the same thing on these little orbs. We'll see how this goes. Now imagine doing this on a 32 millimeter miniature model. That would be a pain. I want that dark. Okay, we got that. And we want a little bit around here. A little bit around there. So that way we got some green around his balls there. If you've got green balls, it's probably not a good thing. And then we'll do a little bit. I guess we'll try to do the edges of that. Those little center pieces there. And we'll try to fill in those areas with some dark green because that'll kind of help with the glow if we do that a little bit later. Get in the hole. There's like one little hair on this brush that just doesn't want to play nice. It wants to go do its own thing. It just makes me want to cut it. But it only pops out when you're painting. It's kind of like a rebellious teenager. It's like, ah. We got a little bit. I really should use a wet palette. That would keep my paints from drying out, but and I've got one sitting right there. One of these days I'll get that going. And that one's going to be a little messed up. That's okay. So there we've got our dark outline of our green on there. So let's see what else. I guess I could do these other scarab. It's like I think I'll just leave the small one just be for the Tesseract glow. I won't put a line around that. Okay. Well, we got some on his arm here, so we can go around and we can do that one. Our daughter's on vacation. She's on Oahu right now, and they got a big, huge storm. So she's having fun with that. Of course, she's not there just for Hawaii, but she's having some downtime, which is going to be good. The ribs, how am I going to do these? I guess I could just do some dark on the outside, and then it'll just kind of shade in a little bit, and then we can just kind of put like half of it. We'll just color in half the rib with the dark. And then maybe we can blend that in with the Tesseract. Kind of wet blend that a little bit. We'll see how if that'll work. So we can just do half of the rib there. I'll do the same thing here. And these, like the hieroglyphs on his legs, I think what I'll end up doing is just kind of going around on the edge. And then we'll just, for the white, we'll save the white for the Tesseract glow. So we'll just kind of go around this and see how that'll turn out. also go around this with the, so that way you can get a little bit of an outline on that. And a little bit of water we can. So we've got a little bit of a green shade on the legs and everything, and I think that should work out well. Okay, we're going to need a little bit more, because we're going to end up doing, I think, the big spheres on here as well. Dun, dun, dun. Zombie says, masking tape for the straight lines. Yeah, that's a good idea. That is a good idea. So now we'll do the big balls, or the bigger balls. I'll give it like a dark green base color, or bottom color. And then we can go through and then we can hit that, and then we can kind of do a little bit of stippling, or see how I can get that to work. And can I get that? Spilled a little bit, but who cares? It's on the back side. I'm not too worried about that. And then I guess we could do some on the top as well. So that way it kind of frames it out, I guess. Trying to get in there is going to be interesting. Okay, so that way we got that. And then we'll do the big ball on top. And I'm really kind of interested to see how this is going to work with the object source lighting, because I'm not real, I haven't done any of that. This is my practice for that. But then with the, and I think I'll outline these little things here too. At least on the outside. Just do a little swirl around there. We can do the same thing on that side. Last night was pretty good. Ended up watching War Machine with Alan Richson, or whatever the guy's name is, the big dude. And, you know, some people are like, oh, it's horrible, blah, blah, blah. Actually, it was pretty good. I enjoyed it on Amazon Prime. And even the wife liked it. So, yeah, we had a good time with that. And now, I think what I'm going to end up doing is we'll just do a little bit of where I just want to get a little bit of a different kind of like grow that out a little bit. Yuladama says, I have no problem with scaling up miniatures because I believe the reason that they stayed at that size for so long is because Games Workshop was getting a certain amount of money for how much cost. I like those types of movies. I was about to watch it myself with the big mech. Yeah. Yeah, it turned out it was a good movie. I liked it. Both the wife and I liked it. Action-packed. It was, we enjoyed it. So, it was good. So yeah, we enjoyed it. Let's do the same thing on this. It's going to be kind of interesting. Just trying to do a little bit of that way. We try to work on making it look like a sphere. I don't know if you can see that. But we're trying to get that going into sphere action. And then I guess I could do that with the big one down here too. Just do a little bit of a almost like we're trying to wet blend this. And draw it into the white. All these new things to learn. We'll see how this goes. Always that one little hair on the brush that is acting up. Okay, so if we can see that, we're trying to get it where that's a little bit shaded and get a kind of looking like it's a ball. So, and I guess we're good on that. So the next thing we could end up doing is going through, and we could do the lighter color, because that was a savage green, and we could go back with a lighter green. And do that. We did the savage. I think that's going to be, I don't know how well that's going to work out. Because we'll go from dark to light to the tesseract. So we kind of got the three colors going from dark to to lightest or brightest. And that's kind of what I did on that other, I don't know, that's pretty, that's pretty light. I don't know about that. Let's take a quick break and we will go and check out our model to where we did the let that hit our cure station with that UV resin. And we can take a look at this. So there she is. And there you can see how nice and shiny that is on there. Look at that. And then on the ball there, that turned out pretty nice and shiny as well. So yeah, UV resin can give you some real good results on that. That looks really nice. I like that. Gives a little bit of pop to everything. And kind of like that one down there. So add just a little bit of a interesting little shine on there. Yeah, it'll turn out nice. That'll be good. I like that. Alrighty. Now the question is, feral green? The only other green we have is this. And I don't know. Because this one's dark, lighter, lightest. I wonder if we can make the jump to feral green. Or if that's going to be too light. We could see. We could do a test piece. And worst case scenario, we can always try it on this piece right there. Try one little dab. We'll see. That's kind of bright. That is bright. That, I don't know, that could work. Now we'll do it on the scarab. Let's try that. We'll just kind of do our next line in. That's pretty subtle, but I think that could work. We'll give that a shot. Yeah, that is subtle. I'm wondering if we can that is going to be interesting. It's got a tiny bit. I think that'll work. We'll see how it goes. Guess we can continue on a little bit. And okay, that's working. I think that'll work. Just need to be careful that I don't overstep onto the dark. Don't go to the dark side. If you can see that. It might be hard to see because of that light's kind of washing it out. I apologize for that. It's always that one little bristle on there, just being a dick. That one bristle, the one. There's always that one. Always that one guy. That's going to be too small. I think that'll work. And then for this, I think we'll just kind of do a little bit on the top and then the bottom. I'll leave just a tiny space for the that'll work. And for here, let's kind of blend that in a little bit. See if I can. Yeah, that'll look good. Oh yeah, we're getting some good gradient on that. Hey, sweetie. How was it?
Good.
Yeah. Doing painting.
Good.
Painting chilly outside.
Yep.
Yeah. Let me get you some heated gloves.
Well, it's not as bad as I thought.
Yeah.
Yeah, but it's kind of like a spring chili, not winter chili.
That's good.
I don't know if it makes sense to you.
Well, it does. Well, let me know when you're ready. Get cleaned up, we can go to the bank. Gotta exchange some American money for one. Because the exchange rate is really, really good. I think this is working out good. Did I what? No, I didn't. And I'll do this guy here. Do the same thing on here. Kind of get that to blend in a little bit. So kind of. Kind of get a little bit of a roundedness to it. At least that's what we're hoping for. It's always that one hair on there. Okay, so I think we're doing okay on that. Kind of. I think we're good. I think we're good. So I don't need the side cutters or any of that stuff. So. Alrighty, Feral Green and Savage Green is what we used. So those turned out good. Now, I think with enough drying, what we could end up doing is we could do some Tesseract and see how that turns out. I like those types of movies. Ever since that movie Robot Jocks. Sup party people, Samuel Smith is on board. Yeah, we're doing our Necron Overlord, our blown up Necron Overlord, as we can see here. Printed on the Creality K2 Plus, and yeah, we're trying to do these glowing orbs. We did a ring of dark green, and we kind of blended it in on those ribs there, so you can see that kind of blends in nice. And yeah, now it's going to be time for the Tesseract by Citadel. Actually, they just changed their name to Warhammer. I've actually seen people ask, what should I paint my Warhammer figures with? And people are like, I've heard of Citadel, but does Warhammer put out their own paints? So I think that's why they changed the name. It was like, yeah, by the way, now that you mention it, Warhammer does have Warhammer paints. Clear up any misconceptions. And now we will go on to the Tesseract. We'll get our Tesseract on. Start out with a little dot. Load up our brush, and let's go ahead and do the center. Load that in there. And I guess we'll just start hitting up these orbs. Just kind of use that and kind of glaze it over the whole thing, I guess. We'll see how these turn out. Get our little scarabs on his back. We'll do this one without trying to blend it in. We'll just kind of put the tesseract on there and we'll compare the two. See which looks better. One where we kind of blend in the tesseract with the other stuff, because if you wet it, it'll reactivate the other paint. We can kind of blend those in, or just leave it the way it is. So we shall see. Okay. And I think we'll do the tesseract. We'll just kind of do this. For his eye. We'll see how that turns out. Kind of get around it a little bit too. Just simulate a little bit of glow on the eyes. Alrighty, and let's go ahead and we'll do the ribs. Oh, that's going to be nice. Yes, yes, yes. Gonna get a nice gradient on that. Yeah. Oh yeah, that's gonna look good. I like that. Looks good, says George. GP Go Tro kits. Reactivation paint. I wouldn't expect anything less from a Necron Lord. Your desk is worryingly uncluttered. You haven't seen the other desk that's not on camera, so it is, that would be a different story. So yeah, this is turning out good. So I like so far I like the three colors, with the dark green, a lighter green, and then the tesseract as the final green. And that seems to be working out pretty good. And then the other thing I want to try is, of course, doing a little bit of white ink, and then a little bit of fluorescent green to see how that makes this thing pop. As you can see there, it's turning out pretty good. Look at those ribs. How great how that goes from dark to light to the lighter color. That looks really good. I'm happy with that. And with that, let's add some more tesseract to those runes on his thighs. And here we go. Oh yeah, it's going to look good. Now on this, I'll I'll do it with the Tesseract, and then on the other one, I want to add a little bit of, I want to try that panel liner, because I got some fluorescent green panel liner, so we'll try that on the other side and see how that turns out. I might just edge in a little bit of this around the edges. So that turned out halfway good. I do like green. How much is that per ounce? It depends on the green. Or this I'm not sure. For the Citadel Warhammer paints, it doesn't say on Amazon how much per ounce. At least I don't remember it saying that. JP says my group is talking about getting into 54mm Civil War. Larger scale figures, they seem like they allow more tricks. Yeah. So yeah, okay, I'm digging that. Let's go ahead and we'll do, I did that. We got all of those. Let's go ahead and do, just pop that in right there. Oh, I'm hungry. Too much on the front, so I'll put it on the back. Oh yeah, this is turning out nice. I like it, me like. And let's go ahead and put some Tesseract on the ball on his head. That is turning out nice. Nice, nice. Yes, yes, yes. And then imagine this when we put a little bit of UV resin on this stuff. And we can make that, we can really make that pop. Yeah, that is nice. That is turning out good. I'll just do the center. And then what we can end up doing is we can just kind of blend that in a little bit. Yes, this is turning out nice. See if we can blend that a little bit better. So I think that turned out good. Turned out nicely. Let's see, I may need to use it for a part of my slimmer build. JP says, if you like giant fishing robots, aka big stompy mechs, see Dog Game Studios is about to release the 3rd edition of Tech Commander. We'll be playing it at Decepticon as well next week. Nice. Mechs are more George's speed. He's wondering how the rules are. That's a good question because I'm just going to be starting to learn how to play Warhammer. I think this is turning out well, gentlemen, ladies and gentlemen. I'll go ahead and let that soak up. And we can try that panel liner, that fluorescent panel liner on his other thigh, which is this stuff right here. Steady fluorescent green. We'll see how this goes. Make sure that cap's on there. You know, it'd be funny if I'm shaking this all up and then it says don't shake. Shake well, okay. So we'll see how this works out on that leg. Can't wait to get that top-down camera. Let's see if we can do this to where I'm going to bring this in so we can see his leg like that. We will get a panel liner, and here we go. Isn't that nice how that capillary action just kind of so panel liner versus tesseract. So I have to let that there's a tesseract, there's a panel liner. So this will be an interesting little test to see how that works. Okay, so there it is. Let's see, can we get a kind of a top-down view of our guy there? I think we got some good work done on that. Looks good. Looks good indeed. And we should have a change of scene come up here real quick. And we can kind of see a little bit more of the details of this guy, kind of like the ribs and everything. I think it turned out kind of good. So, what we'll end up doing, I'll go over here. And let's see, is it that view? That view. That looks pretty good. Let's see if we zoom in a little bit more. We can see that we got a little bit of, you do like maybe a dark on his eyes, like dark pupil. But we can see the gradient in between his ribs from dark to light. It goes light towards the center. And then we have that example of the panel lining with the panel liner on the left thigh, the tesseract on the right. But yeah, I think we ended up doing good on this. I think we ended up doing good. So yeah, pretty happy about that. Pretty happy. Nice. You try to. I think we did good. I think we did good. Now the only thing we need to do is like the blade on there, and we'll see how that turns out. Nice, 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 nice. Okay, since we finished that up, let's go ahead and hit some comments up and see what we got going on. JP talked about Sea Dog Game Studios is to release a 3rd edition of Tech Commander. He mentioned that, and George was asking if it's easy to play, hard to learn the rules. Super easy to learn. Sounds like something I need to do. And then it says it moves too fast, things die quickly, you got to keep your head on a swivel. And then we got Terry. Terry pops in and says, good morning. Good morning. Good sir. George says, I love the Warhammer models, but want to learn, but I've loved Gundam and mech since I was 8. I'm almost 42 now. Okay, that works good. It should be noted that in Warhammer, you have the Tau, which are mechs, basically. Dun, dun, dun. JP says Gundam actually has a game coming out, but the expansions are a bit more expensive than the base game. Go figure. Yeah, everybody's got to make their money. George says looks really good. I think it turned out really good. I think we did on our model. It looks good. I know they want your firstborn for games. JP says the Gundam starter set is 35. The unit boxes are 40. That's still not too bad compared to Warhammer. Holy crow. That Combat Patrol pack that I got, Combat Patrol, that was like $170. I don't know what they are in the United States. I'm in Korea, so. But Warhammer does have the Tau. Matter of fact, if we look up, let's Warhammer Tau. If we take a look at some pictures here. So you got the Tau, and you can see that they got some pretty cool little mechs going on. Like there's one. It's on eBay. And there's a guy that in our game group, what he ends up doing is he prints out some Tau from Piper Makes. I can't remember if that's on, it's one of the STL sites. I don't know. You have to check Maker World, Thingiverse or something like that. But check out Piper Makes, and she does some real good Tau units. So that aren't an arm and a leg. But yeah, Tau can be some cool Some cool looking, some units there. So yeah, definitely some Taus. And that was something I was interested in as well. Matter of fact, I probably should have gone Tau. Let's see, the Warhammer Tau. If that'll, boom. So kind of like their infantry dudes, I guess. But yeah, they got some good stuff. Ooh, there's a good one. Get some good looking army stuff there. So yeah, a lot of good stuff that what you can end up seeing with Tau, and of course you have proxy units from, like I said, Piper makes. Let me see if I can pull that up. Pipermakes. And she is on. Here it is. She actually has her own website, pipermakes.art, and she does mech type stuff. So pretty wild. Let's do the fish mech. She calls them fish. So you can see she's got some really cool stuff. These are resin printed, of course, but you will pay less for these than you will for the Warhammer stuff. But depending on the group that you play with, you know, they will, and it comes with a lot of different items on some of these as well. It's just you're going to spend some time printing and of course painting these out. So check out Piper Makes, and I think on she's also on some other stuff as well. Let's check out the Void Crafted. That's kind of interesting looking mech. Kind of a different style there. Crazy. So yeah, that's something to look into as well. So if you're considering that. JP says about the same Combat Patrol box is about 176 in the US. That's not bad. Some stuff here in Korea is crazy expensive, worse than in the United States. Glad I ran across your stream, but I got a dip. Have videos that need working on. Cool. Totally get it. Stop by. Be sure to like and subscribe. And then if you shoot me an email, JP, I'm putting it in the official deburiedlife@gmail.com. And if you've got a YouTube page, let me know what it is. It's my email's in the, let me make sure it's spelled correctly. Yep. Let me know, shoot me an email, and then if you've got a YouTube page, I'll subscribe to you and like and do all that cool stuff as well. So, and check out what you got. Kind of just support the people that come here and people who are like myself. Of course, you've probably got a better channel than I do, but yeah, I always like to help people out. So anyway, that's what we got going on. Necron Combat Patrol panel, which Combat Patrol that we looked at. We look at our terrain. We did the UV resin on our little terrain piece, and that gives a little bit of extra pop on the terrain. And of course, that'll also work on miniatures and models as well. And then we did the Large Necron Overlord, which we printed on our Creality K2 Plus, which worked out well, and it's coming along quite famously. Next big thing is going to be the staff, the blades on the staff, and of course the elephant in the room is going to be the robe and what color we're going to do with that. So I think that's going to be about 2 or 3 different colors on the robe. I'm not sure. They kind of like do a blue, teal-ish type. So I'm thinking about doing that. We'll see. We'll give it a shot and see what happens. You know, worst case scenario, just have to paint over it, right? Okay. With that, if you want to contact me, there is the email, officialthevariedlife@gmail.com. I always answer my email. Give me 1 or 2 days, but I always answer. Bunch of people over here bought me coffee. You can do that. Link in the description box. Best thing that you can do for me is to like and subscribe to the channel. That would really help me out. And I will reciprocate if you have a YouTube page as well. Just let me know what it is by shooting me an email. So anyway, that's going to be it for today. We got some errands to run, some money to exchange, and yeah, a little bit of shopping to do. So with that, I hope you all have a good week and make it towards the weekend. Have fun. Life's too short to not have fun. We'll see you on the next video. All right, thank you. Peace. Turned out pretty good. Turned out good. I like it.